Hey everyone, welcome to another match of Budget Temur Delver. Today we are playing Crabvine. Match 1 of 3, I'm not sure what order this is going to be coming in. Opening hand is... it's fine. It's okay. I'm playing with Stomping Ground here before I decided to remove it from the deck. Mostly because I wanted to stay true to the budget nature of it. If I'm not playing the other shocks, I shouldn't be playing this shock either. But it would probably be the first shock upgrade you make, because Stomping Ground's pretty cheap. Alright, so when I see a card like that, I know we're playing something along the lines of Crabvine. And I'm pretty sure that's what it's going to be, especially from what I see in the graveyard. An aggressive version of Crabvine, I should say. So we're gonna... Usually you expect to be milled yourself here, but in fact our opponent is milling themselves, because this is essentially dredge, but with a cute self-mill factor. Alright, so our opponent's filling up their graveyard, and our lonely little Budget Temur Delver deck cannot deal with a turn 2 Vengevine. So we concede. Ta-da! That was game 1. Yeah, our opponent had an explosive hand there. I could have probably just played it through, bolted or whatever, but there was really no point in seeing that game through. That was going to be game over. We need to bring in some sideboard cards to help us out. Question is, what do we really bring in here? So, you know, I'm going for Blood Moon mostly to turn off their lands, their enter and land abilities. But I don't think Blood Moon's really going to do much there. Grafdigger's Cage is essentially our main tool, and we just have to hope that that they don't have an explosive hand. Landfall is the keyword I was thinking of 10 seconds ago, like an idiot. So here we see the weakness of not having fetches. So we could have done a Fabled Passage, but the land would have come in tapped anyway, so there's really no point in doing anything. So our opponent's going to fetch here, probably going to go get something to play their crab. Let's see. Oh, no. Alright. Not yet. So end of turn, we fetch, of course. If we want any chance of winning, we have to fetch. And we get an island. And now we're going to play Grafdigger's Cage. And that's 2 turns. That's 2 turns worth of work in Budget Temur Delver. But Grafdigger's Cage is essentially a hoser here. And it's probably going to turn the tide in our favor, even though we're playing pretty slowly. Because now they're not going to be able to dredge anything. Nothing's going to be able to return to the battlefield from a graveyard. They're going to have to win fairly, and they don't win fairly usually. Unfortunately here, we don't get our second land drop, which is brutal. Very, very brutal. We need a second land ASAP. And our opponent's going to go on to an alternate strategy of milling us instead of milling themselves. Which I have to say is not a horrible strategy. We just have to hope we get a second land here. Alright, so you have Evolving Wilds. Again, you can tell this was a slightly older iteration of the deck. Too many slow fetches in this version of the deck, but there is Evolving Wilds. It's proof that I grind with these decks just for you. But again, Evolving Wilds is going to mean that we can't do anything, and that our opponent's going to have to do something instead. Now, it's an indictment of Crabvine that they are losing or can't deal with a Budget Temur Delver deck. To be fair, if it wasn't for Grafdigger's Cage, this game would have been over. But with a deck like a budget deck like this, you are going to lean on your sideboard cards even more than you normally would. Now, of course, while we see this game through, again, this was the main reason why Evolving Wilds was just removed from the game. Evolving Wilds probably would have been a Spire Bluff Canal or Botanical Sanctum, in which case we would have played our Storming Entity a while ago, and everything would have been fine. So end of turn. Let's get our forest. And now things are going to start going in our favor. So Storming Entity. Well, yeah, first I'm going to cantrip as much as possible. Catcher Atrium is actually pretty good. Catcher Triumph, I should say. Alright, so no, and yeah, we need threats at the moment, so thanks to our opponent, we have plenty of cards in our graveyard to delve with. So next turn, we could actually delve for 2 Hooting Mandrills, which is kind of hilarious. Yeah, our opponent has no way of getting out of this. So we win game 2. Alright, thanks to Grafdigger's Cage. Heavy lean on Grafdigger's Cage. We were not lucky with lands either, let's be honest. Went a couple of turns with no land drops. And of course, once we got the land, it was Evolving Wilds, which was slow. So let's see what game 3 looks like. This hand is absolute poop. So we are gonna throw that away. This hand is better. No turn 1 play other than Grafdigger's Cage, which is actually not bad. Would have been nicer if we could play Delver of Secrets. But actually, against a deck like this, I probably wouldn't be playing Delver first. I'd be playing Grafdigger's Cage to kind of stem the bleeding as quickly as possible. So again, while we see this game through, pretty lucky with Grafdigger's Cage being in our opening hand, game 2 and 3. It's going to just hurt a deck like this. But again, I mean, even in non-budget versions of Temur Delver, you are heavily relying on your graveyard hate. If you don't have that graveyard hate, you're going to have a hard time dealing with your opponent. At best, you're going to be a turn ahead, or you're going to be on par in turns compared to a budget build, but that doesn't mean much against a heavy graveyard strategy like Crabvine or just regular old Not Magic or Dredge, for those of you that don't know what Not Magic means. So again, I don't want to make it seem like we're getting too lucky here. This is more or less how it would work with you know, any competitive Temur Delver deck, except we're a bit slower. So we're going to counter that. Don't think our opponent has much here, though. We are pretty much going to take care of them. Again, they need to find an answer for Grafdigger's Cage, or it's essentially GG. I have a feeling that's what's going to happen. So we can upgrade Hex Drinker, and I think that's really the best we can do. Let's see what we get. Sure, our opponent is doing some math in there, and some napkin math, and seeing what they can actually legitimately do with the cards in their hand. Again, the big downside against decks like this is that once you do turn off their graveyard, it's essentially over. Alright, so they're going in. I'm not going to block. They knew I wasn't. Lightning Bolt's pretty good. Yep, 4/4, and we'll probably bolt the crab. And yeah, they saw that coming, and they just gave up. Alright, so Crabvine versus Budget Temur Delver. Again, I want to emphasize here that even if we were playing competitive version of this deck, we would be having some trouble with Crabvine. Probably would bring in Blood Moon, to be honest, to kind of shut off landfall, and we probably would have a bit more ease in executing our tools or our weapons against this deck. But nevertheless, it's a tough deck to beat, and I'm actually pretty happy that Budget Temur Delver was able to tackle it. Again, we were lucky with Grafdigger's Cage in our opening hand, game 2 and 3. It really kind of sealed the deal. Although in game 3, at least we had a bit more play with lands and spells, but it would have been uphill battle either way. So yeah, let me know what you think. Again, the lands really show you. I mean, it really shows you what you lose when you don't have a proper set of shocks and a proper set of fetches, and when you have to wait an extra turn to play everything. It's just very, very brutal in a format like this, which is why budget decks tend to be a bit simpler. They tend to play less colors, because if they truly want to be budget, they're not playing fetches, and that means, well, you're playing much slower. So you gotta play less colors, so you could be a bit more consistent without the need of fetches. So anyway, it's a tangent. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up. If you enjoy my content in general, please subscribe, hit the notification bell. Follow me on Twitter, all that fun stuff. Follow me on Facebook as well, although the content I put on Twitter is pretty much mimicked on Facebook. But if you prefer Facebook, there's a Delver Brews Facebook page, so check that out. If you're interested in becoming a patron, check out the link in the description. Big thank you to all my current patrons. Thank you for the early support. Check out the tiers. I think they're pretty cool. If you want guaranteed rares and mythics every year around the holidays, become a patron. So check that out. Thanks, and have a good one.